All right, hello and welcome. This is a guide for loot filter. It's going to be a little bit different than some of the others maybe you've seen, as I am going to be providing you with the information on how I make my own loot filters, because I do them a little bit differently than a lot of people do. And I've definitely been asked about it before and how I do it and why I do it the way that I do it, you know, because there are reasons why I do this in a way that's different than how other people make theirs. So I wanted to provide a video to where I explain the differences and why those exist for me and show you exactly how I go through them, because it's really not that complicated of a process to make a loot filter in a similar fashion to how I do. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to start a fresh loot filter, and we're going to put like dummy numbers and whatnot, but give you the general idea of what a fresh loot filter looks like when I'm making one, say for the tournament or for a new build that I am working on. This is what it looks like as a finished product. This is actually a loot filter for a build guide that's going out really soon, and it is pretty much complete for the most part. And yeah, it's not as complicated as it looks. A lot of these rules are similar, so they're easy to understand. If you figure out why one is working the way it is, you'll figure out why the rest of them are. And what I like about these filters, the way I make them, is they're customizable as I am leveling. So I can tweak numbers and tweak what I'm seeing as I go, which is very valuable when you get to higher levels and your gear is better and you don't want to see that shitty base drop. I swore in my YouTube video already, whoopsie. That crappy base drop on the ground, and you've already got better. You don't need that one because you've got this way better version. And so you can turn that off so you don't see that really crappy base anymore. I hope you can get your money back after this video. That was quick. I let my chat talk to me this time, which I didn't do the last one. I'm started something new here. I'm already getting off track. I started something new where I'm actually doing these live streaming, and my chat's already trolling me. Okay, let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to make a brand new loot filter. Create a new loot filter. Let's call this McFluffins example filter. All right, and let's see, skull, and we'll make it this brownish color. Okay, so brand new, completely fresh loot filter. We're going to start off with the most important rule, which is to hide any rarity, normal, magic, or rare, and only those type. What this does is it means if there's not a show rule above it, it will hide anything. So if the show rules above don't guarantee that you will see an item, it will reach this rule, which will be at the bottom, and then it will hide whatever that item is, so you never see items that you haven't intended to see. Okay, we're also going to do something similar for item type. Idols. All of our idols, we want to do the same thing for. Okay, so now anytime idols drop that don't hit our show specifications, we will not see them. Next up, we are going to do our big show rule, which is based on our fixes. So what fixes do we want to see is the question that we're going to ask with this particular rule. Let's say I'm going to make a physical melee build, and so I want melee fizz, melee crit, melee attack speed, melee damage as examples. What else do I want? We want some sort of let's say some resistances here. Let's say we want LE, fire, lightning, necrotic, poison, void. Here we go. We want resistances on here. We want our health. We're going to need a lot of health because we're going to get hit a lot. So we'll go up here, take our health. Take all these things that we need. Movement, we always need movement speed. That's pretty good. Let's say leech 2 and crit strike avoidance. Okay, so those are the things that we want. Those are the things we're going to look for. We also need to look at our class specific stuff. Let's say this is going to be a sentinel. So what are we going to do? Let's do a Rive build. So we're going to do a search here. We're going to take mana gain Rive, level of Rive. Again, this is a dummy build. It's not a real build. So I would be a lot more specific with the things that I want, but just an example of how this rule works. Whatever it is that I want as my affixes that I want to see is going to go into here. So we're going to take the Rive stuff. And then we need to take also some idle stuff. So there's the general idols. There's these more specific ones. So we want to look in the Sentinel idols. And we're going to take, let's see, what are we going to take? Let's see some fizz stuff in idols. In fact, we can search for physical, and we can do it actually in the Sentinel idols. And here we go. There's actually not much for fizz in here. But let's get out of that. Let's do melee. Is there any melee in here for Sentinel? There's fire pen. There's chance to shred our melee. That's a good one. Let's take that one. Increase melee damage when a skill echoes. Let's do that too. Let's assume we're going to use an echo skill. So we're going to take those two as well. And maybe we want some general as well. Do we want some general idol types? We want some health. Let's say we want health. Let's take that and that. Okay. There we go. So now we have a good show rule. So what's going to happen is if it fits that parameter, if there's an affix on it that fits that parameter, we'll see it. If it doesn't, these will hide it. So you only see stuff that's got that on it. You guys are highlighting messages and everything. You guys are crazy. Why I like doing it this way is I have a specific ability to change the tiers on this. So let's say we're going to start off with like one or more tiers, and that's how we're going to like start our build. But let's say once I get to like level 60, level 70, I'm deep into monoliths. That might not be enough. I might need to go up to 3 or 4, whatever it might be. I can change that with a simple rule, and it changes all of the affixes that I want to see so that I can control it from a more global way. Now, there are some cases where you might want to see one or more all the time, so if you're going to fracture. We're going to handle that later. But for now, this is going to be our more general approach to handling all the affixes that we want to see on the ground. Okay. You might want to have a little more control over it, though. Let's say there are some affixes that you just want to see for a period of time, but not forever. One example of this is your resistances. So let's say we want to see our resistances. I don't remember if I took resistance in this one. Let's check if we took them. Did we take resistances? We might have actually. Resistances. Yeah, we did. Let's say instead of having resistance in here, I want to see resistances up until like level 60, level 70. At that point, I still need my resistances, but I'll have most of them covered. And I want to tack them on to other affixes that I think are more important. No problem. I'm going to make another show rule here. And this is going to be for resistances. Again, it's going to be affix. We're going to go resist. And we're just going to take all these resistances. We're going to pop them on here. And what I can do now, let's just make it 3 or more. Which, again, that's up to you how many you put on there. What I can do now is at the point where I'm like, okay, I don't need to see resistances on my gear anymore. It's not like a priority. I need like these priority affixes, then resistances are like a secondary thing. I can just check that right off there. Easy customization of that rule. Check it on, check it off as I need it. But I like having that rule on there as well for that reason. Okay, once we've got that in place, we have another problem, which is you don't always want to see every base type of every item that you like. So the first thing we want to do is we want to make a hide rule for any types of bases that we just don't want to see at all. So for example, we're going to run a melee fizz. Let's say we want to dual wield. So we want to dual wield swords or axes. Okay, no problem. We're going to turn off two-handed weapons completely. And we're going to turn off maces, scepters, wands, and daggers. While we're in here, we also don't want any of these. They do not fit a dual wield play style. We will click all of those. Boom. We have hidden all of those. We will never see them in our playthrough. Okay, next though, we do want to see axes and swords, but we don't want to see every axe or sword, or we don't want to always see every axe or sword. No problems. We're going to make another hide rule. Item type, and we're going to choose sword. And then we're going to do subtypes. And from subtypes, we can choose which of the swords that we want. And this is where the customization part is valuable for me, because I can start with a pretty loose one here. Let's say I just want to hide broadsword and I want to see everything else. As I'm leveling and I get better weapons, the earlier bases are going to be less and less viable for me. So I need to get out of those. So I can eventually get all the way down to where I might even only just want deicide sword. And that's cool. We can do that. Or maybe I just want katana and deicide sword. Depending on the build, katana might still be valuable at endgame. It really does depend on how you're making it. So I can just have it to be katana deicide sword. I can confirm there. And now I will only ever see katanas or deicide swords as the sword type. We'll do the same thing for our axe. So we're going to do, again, item type. We are going to do one-handed axe. and we are going to turn off everything we don't want to see, or turn on everything we don't want to see, because we're going to hide those things. I actually just want to see Raider Axe because I really like that base crit. Maybe I want to run an Axe Sword. So we'll just have the Raider Axe drop. Everything else does not. That is done. Now, all we need to do is a similar rule for every gear slot that we have. So we go in here and we do a hide rule, and we choose item type, and we've already done our weapons here. We don't need offhand, so now we go armor. So let's go helmet, and we'll do something similar with the helmets. We're going to turn off everything that is not sentinel based. Whoops. Not uniques, though. We'll leave uniques on there. And we're going to turn off all these helmets that we don't like. Let's just do that many. And we're going to go through and we're going to do every single item type, just like that. So we're going to do body armor. Oops. That's a hide rule, and it's not a subtype. Turn off Primalist, Mage, Acolyte, Rogue, Sentinel. Turn off the stuff we don't care about. I'm just going to pick a few of these. These aren't necessarily what I would normally do or would actually do in the build, but just as example, turn off all those. And as I'm making this filter early on, I'm not turning off this many things. I am just turning off the ones that I know I don't want to see, and then I'm coming back in here periodically as I'm leveling and turning off more and more as I'm recognizing that things are dropping that are non-viable for my build. Next up, we've got body armor done. Let's go belt. Belt for me is usually pretty easy. I turn off everything that doesn't have armor on it, because armor is just the only one that actually is decent. Everything else is just a potion. So I always go plated bronze, and I don't care which one really. The potion slot with 4 is nice, but it's not that big a deal. So that one is pretty much a universal rule for me. Oops, that was a show. Let's fix that. No, that's right. Yeah, okay. Hide, and we've got our belts done. Now boots. Boots, there's a lot of good boots now. We'll just let's turn off those ones right there for now. And then hide, another rule. Doesn't take that long to build, it really doesn't. We got gloves, we're almost done, we're really close. Oops. Subtype. Turn off, oh, we like that one. Let's turn off that one. Everything else looks good, keep those. And then we've got our accessories. We're done there, right? Yeah, we're done there. So we've got our amulets, ring, relics. Amulets, these are pretty easy too for the most part. The higher level stuff tends to be a lot better than the lower level stuff, so we'll just keep those 3. And oops, that's a hide rule. Rings, there's like usually 2 rings if you're not a minion build that you like at most. I usually just use the move speed ones, so let's just do move speed. Easy. I will only see those. And we've got one more, which is our relic, which have significantly been overhauled very recently. So now we've got to do like, so you have all class 1s. If you want health regen, you keep these. We don't care about health regen. We're going to do a leech build, let's say. We don't need Primalist or Mage or Acolyte or Rogue. We need Sentinel. What fits our build? Health gain and melee hit kind of fits it. Void resistant armor is nice. We don't need Ignite though. Melee attack mana cost is nice. We're not blocking, so we don't care about that. We're not doing fire. Here's a resistance one. We can keep that one. We're not doing void damage. We're not doing void damage. There we go. So that's covered too. So there's all of the hide rules for all different gear, and I can now go in there and change around each one as I need to. So as I realize maybe a base is good or bad, or I out-level the base, I have complete control over that with these rules right here. There are 2 other rules though that I like to put on my loot filter, and then it's completely done. The first one is a show rarity, and I turn on exalted, unique, and set. If you've been playing for a long time, unique and set you might not want to, but exalted is awesome. I mean, exalted is how you get the best gear in the game. You can make a really strict filter that filters out bad bases for exalted, but it's going to have a ton of rules. So personally, I just rather the exalteds don't drop that often. I'd rather just see every one of them, take a look at it, and move on. So that rule allows it to overrule any hide below it to make sure that I always see exalted, unique, or sets that drop on the ground. The last thing I want to do is I want one more show rule for affixes, and this is for affixes that I want to shatter. So even if they are on a bad base that I will never wear, the affix is valuable enough for crafting. I need this rule to make sure I can still get that affix even on those bad bases. So for example, we're doing a Rive build. Let's say I want to see level of Rive and mana gained on Rive use, even if they're on terrible bases, so I can break them down. So I'm going to put that on. We're going to keep any tier, but maybe I want to go up to like tier 2 or tier 3, depending on how strict I want to be about the likelihood I'll actually get a decent number of those shards. For now, we'll just like, if I see even one tier of that, I want to I want to destroy it. I want to turn it into shards. So I'm going to keep those, shatter it. That's the word I was looking for. So that rule's on top. So now no matter what, I'm going to see those, all these hide rules do not apply to that particular item. Even if it's a crappy base, I'm still going to see it, and I'm still going to be able to shatter it. And that is how I make my loot filters. They don't do all of the work. You can make a lot more complicated versions that will say change as you level. So you can add additional rules that have like starts at level 25 and goes to level 50. All that stuff is really cool. But because I play so many builds, programming in those many rules for every single build I make is an absolute nightmare. So I would just rather have a system to where I can make small changes as I go that don't take me long at all, and I have all of the control myself, and I can do it with a much smaller number of rules. And so that's why I make my builds or my filters this way instead of some of the other ways that you may have seen other content creators do it, which those are perfectly fine. Those are good ways of making them. But this is why if you ever go into my stream and you see I'm using a different kind of filter or using a different way, this is the reason for it. I hope that was informative. I hope you've learned something about the loot filter today. If you have any questions about it, feel free to stop in my chat or in my Discord and ask me about it. I love talking about this stuff. This is why I play this game so much. I am addicted to the game and addicted to talking about it. Would love to chat about it with you if you have any questions, or if you just want to talk about the game for any other reason. Feel free to stop in and hang out and watch us make builds and just hang out in the Discord and talk about whatever we talk about. Love to have you. All right, thank you so much for watching. I hope this helps you in your quest to make the loot filter that is right for you, and I'll see you all again real soon.